Hey guys, welcome to the video. Our essential question for today, I want you to write this one down in the box, is how did the fear of communism impact Americans at home? So we've been talking about a lot of international issues, a lot of foreign policy. Today we're going to talk about what this all looked like in the United States. So in the video, we're going to cover four topics. First, we'll define what the Red Scare was. Second, we'll talk about a man named Joe McCarthy. Third, we'll talk about the House of Un-American Activities Committee, and we'll finish up with the Hollywood 10. All right, so number one, what was the Red Scare? So the Red Scare actually refers to two different periods in American history. We are in the second Red Scare during the 1950s. And when we get to the first one, of course, we'll talk more about it then. But for now, the Red Scare is the period in the 1950s where we are very afraid of communism and we're very afraid of Soviet spies infiltrating or being in the United States. The red comes from the flag and symbol of communism, right, the Soviet Union, but that red flag with that bright yellow hammer and sickle. And scare, of course, means fear. So we are afraid or scared of communism. The main guy we are going to associate with the Red Scare is a Republican senator named Joe McCarthy. Joe McCarthy is best described as anti-communist, meaning he is against communism. And he's very famous in the 1950s for kind of leading the Red Scare as an anti-communist. And he went on basically what we would call a witch hunt. Joe McCarthy would randomly accuse people of being communists who were infiltrating the government. So his communications were all about, I have a list of this many people, and these are people who are communists, and they are working for our government, and we need to find out who they are, and we need to remove them from government positions. And the term we associate with McCarthy now is McCarthyism, which is the act of making accusations without evidence. And that pretty much sums him up. He would accuse a lot of people, but he never had proof. He never had any evidence to support his claims that so and so was a communist who worked for the State Department. I've used this word infiltrate a couple times. Going to have this one defined for you on the screen. And in this part of speech, I suppose, when we talk about communists infiltrating America or Soviet spies infiltrating America, we're talking about kind of like in our Red Scare game activity, the idea that somebody could join a group quietly without anyone knowing who they really are. So a Soviet spy might infiltrate the United States by joining the U.S. without anyone realizing, hey, they're actually passing information to the Soviet Union about our nuclear programs. All right, number 3, the House Un-American Activities Committee, known as HUAC. This is a really long series of words here, so we like to simplify it, and you'll see this often written as HUAC. HUAC was a House committee. Right? It's kind of right there in the name. It's in the House in our government. A committee, a group of people who were charged with identifying activities people were doing in our community and in our government that were un-American. And at the time, un-American meant communist. So this is the group of people in our government whose job it was to investigate all these possible communist threats in our government and in our society. So Joe McCarthy accuses so-and-so about being a communist. That person is then brought before the HUAC committee to testify and to explain. And so the committee would ask them questions, right? Like, oh, well, you were in college. We see here that you were involved in this group, and this group has known communist ties, right? Explain yourself. The person's like, oh, that was 30 years ago. And I don't even know that person, right? They're accusing all these people, no evidence, no real proof that they did anything worth talking about. That brings me to point number four, which I think is a really cool story. And if you've ever seen the movie Trumbo, Trumbo, um, it is all about the Hollywood 10. Um, the situation is that HUAC, the committee I was just talking about, were really afraid that for some reason, like Hollywood and the movie industry was filled with communists. They had it in their head that these people were making movies with all this communist propaganda to try to convince Americans that communism was the way to go, and democracy and capitalism was a bad thing. And these people were brought before HUAC to testify until there were 10 guys, and that's where we get the Hollywood 10, 10 men who were writers and actors, directors, producers in Hollywood. And they refused. They said, "This is crazy. This is unnecessary. You have no proof, and there's really no reason for us to be brought in front of HUAC and testify and ruin our careers." And the result of that was that they were sent to prison for the refusal to testify before Congress. So they saw what was going on. They said, "No, that's not right," and they paid the price of going to prison for it to maintain their belief that they were in the right. And oops, sorry about that. So I think one of the key things here is that Hollywood created a blacklist, right? A list of people not to hire, right? If your name's on the blacklist, it's going to be hard for you to find a job. And so, Hollywood reacts to the Red Scare by creating this list of people, 500-ish people, that they're going to ban from hiring due to these possible communist ties. And that did ruin careers. And so it's a little bit more understandable why the people in the Hollywood 10, those 10 guys said, we're not going to work. We worked really hard. We have this career. It matters to us. It's important to us. And we don't want to lose it for something so stupid. And so, just to sum up our impact of the Red Scare, one, it's important to know that not a single communist was actually found by HUAC. This was a witch hunt. This was random accusations with no proof, and it resulted in no findings. Eventually, public opinion began to turn against Joe McCarthy. After a couple of years went by, and again, there were no communists that were being found, McCarthy kind of got more and more desperate. He started accusing people in the military, soldiers, of being communists without proof. And after that, I think people just went, okay, this guy is crazy. Soldiers are not un-American. They are probably more American than the majority of us. And that was the end of Joe McCarthy in politics. And finally, the Red Scare just goes to show how afraid we were of communism during this time period. We go as far as to accuse people in our government, accuse people in society, send people to prison for not testifying before Congress, all in the name of the fear of communism. And so, with that, guys, we are done with our notes. So you've completed this box. You do have 5 more to do. Pace yourself. I'm gonna show a couple of videos. So Adam Ruins Everything. Great video. We're gonna talk about suburbs, a big thing that starts to appear in the 50s. We'll look at some cartoons and propaganda that is all about communism. Over here on the right-hand side, we'll talk more about the Hollywood 10 and about the atomic spies that we kind of hinted at the start of class, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. And we will finish up today with a little practice quiz, see how much this is making sense to you. And just, no worries, the quiz isn't a grade, just do the best you can. It's just check to see where we're at. Thanks for listening, guys, and I don't know, have a good day.